In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Floating License Manager available for Command PE. What the Floating License Manager does is it allows you to have multiple licenses active on a single particular instance of command. The way this works is if you, for example, had an entire network of multiple PCs that will all want to connect into one server and access a specific license file rather than having separate license.dat files for each one of your builds, the Floating License Manager will allow you to do that by basically acting as a license server. So to get this set up, we're going to go to our Floating License Manager folder. Now note with the Floating License Manager, there's a couple of things that we're going to have to get set up right away. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to confirm that we have our license ilm.dat file available. Again, if you don't have this file, it will not authorize it and will not allow you to use it. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the configuration folder and take a look at the license server.ini file. When we open this file up, it's going to basically allow us to set up what IP address we're going to be currently listening in. In this particular case, since I'm going to be using a local computer and I'm going to be using local licenses, I'm going to use the local host IP. Now, if you needed to set this for something on a network, for example, if I wanted to use my network IP, I can now go ahead and set this up directly. So now that the computer knows this is going to be the server's IP address to be connecting to. Once that's been set up, I'm not going to save in this case, we're now ready to go ahead and start the license manager itself. To start the license manager, we're simply going to double click it. It's going to open it up like this. So the way this works is pretty straightforward. Anytime somebody connects to the server for the purposes of getting a license, you're going to see them appear under the ID. We have the ability to revoke a license, which is going to delete that person's access to the particular software. And you also have an auto revoke particular option here. Now let's swing over real quickly to the client side of things. Let's say we want to go ahead and connect to this server. Again, we're going to do this all locally in order to keep things simple today. We're going to go to our configuration folder and we're going to create a new file called licensing.ini. If this folder doesn't already exist, you can go ahead and create it. I'm going to double click it and it's going to give us this little ID right here. Keep in mind, you're going to have to set this up for each computer that you're going to be using on this particular network. The two things we really need here is the manager IP address, which is the IP that we're going to try to connect to get to the license server. And then we need the appropriate port. And again, we've already set this up inside of our Floating License Manager. So as long as the two sets of numbers agree, you should be good to go. The next thing we're going to do inside of our configuration folder is we're going to go to the cpe.ini document. Inside this document, if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to notice I've added a new line called instance name. If you do not apply this instance name to this particular document, you will not be able to connect to the license server. You can use any instance name you want in this particular case, and this is a great way for identifying which computer on your network is connected to your license server. So in this case, I just called it instance 1 and went ahead and saved. Now that that's all been set, there's one more thing we need to do. We need to confirm that if we have a standalone license like we have here, we need to make sure that that standalone license is going to be disabled so that it knows to connect onto the Floating License Manager. The way that I did that in my case is I just renamed my normal license file .old so that it wouldn't necessarily connect it. Now it's simply a matter of going ahead and connecting and starting up command normally. So if I wanted to start up a regular build of command, I'll click here. It'll go ahead and connect, and you can see immediately on our Floating License Manager that it tells us what machine is connected, what the IP address is, its process, its time that it went ahead and got that file. We'll go ahead and grab that one more time, as well as if the status is active and the last time this was checked. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to check over time. Another thing worth noting on my Floating License Manager is I now have less remaining licenses available at this particular time on account of the fact that one of my slots for my license has been chewed up by this open version of command. Now where this gets really, really powerful is using your command line interface. Let's say, for example, we wanted to create ourselves a command line batch. We've covered this in a previous video that goes ahead and opens up multiple copies of a scenario. So let's go ahead and set this up using the start command, a nice basic batch file here. I'm going to have one 7 through 2 iterations here. I have another one here. I'll have another one here. Of course, these could be different scenarios. We don't have to run all the same scenario. This is just for the purposes of demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create unique folders for each. And now I'm going to go ahead and save my batch file and execute it. When this engages, what it will do, helps if you engage the correct file. When you engage it, what it's going to do is it's going to open 3 separate instances of commands, which are going to automatically lock onto my computer over in this case. Now, one of them, I didn't install a particular motion to go ahead and create this particular save. So, of course, it disappeared as soon as it began. But the other 2 were able to engage. Now, I notice one of these is no longer running. If I wanted to disable it at any time, I could click on it and press the revoke selected option, which would make it then go away. Otherwise, all these instances will now go right ahead, complete their iterations, close themselves, and then 1 minute afterwards, the Floating License Manager will automatically remove them so that other people can then use that license.